Welcome back to another episode of From the Desk. I am your accountant, Samira Moyedin. Now, last episode, I promised you a deep dive on an outfit here in Canada calling itself Exigent Foundation. This is a Canadian Zionist organization that has been sending so-called journalists here in Canada on all expenses paid trips to Israel. They are a motley crew of Muslim haters from some right-wing rags. Most of the journalists were from the National Post and the other paper that we all use to line our cat litter boxes with here in Canada, known as the Toronto Sun. All expenses paid trips to Israel as a journalist, funded by none other than the former Canadian ambassador to Israel. So then these journalists returned to Canada and miraculously performed their mitzvahs by writing favorable articles about Israel. Let's count. $54 articles. Is that a good return on investment? I don't know. I have no idea. What does it cost these days to buy a journalist? Apparently not much. A couple knishes and a free flight on El Al to Israel. Now, the latest duo to go on an all expenses paid trip there are the brothers Roberts, Leslie and Rob. You can see them here in front of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And then they were spotted here littering in front of a wall, folding and shoving pieces of paper into it. You remember Leslie. For 14 years, he was anchor and senior editor at Global Toronto. Leslie Roberts had to resign from Global back in 2015 after an internal investigation revealed that he was secretly part owner of a public relations firm. And then those same clients would appear on Global News programs. Grifters gotta grift. Oh, and his brother, who went to Israel with him, Rob, well, he's the editor-in-chief of the National Post. The editor-in-chief of one of Canada's largest media outlets, Post Media, was sent to Israel on an all-expenses-paid trip with his brother, who then prints his brother's articles in the National Post. I mean, I know that Canadian media here is a little bit incestuous, but there's incestuous and then there's Israeli incestuous. So the brothers Roberts are now Vivian Berkovici's bitches. Vivian is the former Canadian ambassador to Israel who founded Exigent Foundation and sent them on their merry way. Oh, and Aunt Viv, not a fan of me. It's amazing how fragile these folks are when they have to face the truth about their actions. Anyway, we don't have time for all of that in this episode. I can't break that down for you because Israel bombed Iran. That's right. Netanyahu warned us. He warned us any day now. Iran was going to have the bomb. He did it in October 96.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close.
And then September 2002.
Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years.
10 years later, September 2012.
By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
3 years later, March 2015,
the foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons.
7 months later, October 2015,
that would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
And 10 years later, June 13th, 2025.
Not stopped. Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
But that's not what the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Association said this week. You know, that's the organization that actually looks at this stuff. Roll that tape.
That we did not have any proof of a systematic effort to move into a nuclear weapon.
Buckle up, everybody. We are in the fake weapons of mass destruction era again. They've just replaced the Q with an N. Operation Rising Lion was launched by Israel against Iran, the lion rising on a fighter jet to stop the nuclear threat and, of course, to free Iranians. Israel wants to play hero in the war of distraction because, remember, the carnage in Gaza continues. Bibi wants to wash the blood of the Palestinians off of himself with the blood of Iranians. He wants to be the hero of Iranians and sent a direct message to the people of Iran. Have a listen.
This is your opportunity to stand up and let your voices be heard. Woman, life, freedom. Zan, Zandegi, Azadi.
God. I can't even, begin to tell you how painful that is. Now, these back and forth bombings have been happening for more than a week, and no uprising to speak of. So what do you do if you're Israel? Well, you make one. Watch this.
We love Israel! Free Iran!
We love Israel!
We love Israel!
This is what they want to happen. They want to see Iranians in the streets yelling, "We love Israel." That's their wet dream. So AI came to the rescue. Now, there are a couple of things that I really want to address in Israel's war of distraction right now on Iran. The desire by Israel to take apart Iran. The tried and true divide and conquer of the country. For years, Israel has been sowing division among Iran's vast multi-ethnic and multilingual and multi-religious population. They want to cut up Iran into areas, much like they did with Iraq. Except Iran is 5 times the size of Iraq. Iran is the size of Western Europe. Too big to tame. So what do? Well, they dangle carrots in front of the Kurds. Here you have Israel's president of the Kurdish Jewish community, Yehuda ben Yosef, on Twitter saying, quote, "A new Middle East is coming. The army of Israel is helping free the region from the grip of the Iranian regime. Kurds and Israelis united by struggle, bound by hope. Hashtag free Kurdi." Free the region. The region being Iran. And then you have one of the leaders of the Kurdish independence movement here telling different Kurdish groups to set aside their differences and create a united front to help Israel and take over the whole of eastern Iran. They're also dangling a state in front of the Baluch. Here you have a good little native informant. And don't forget the Azaris, who Israel is also trying to coax into separating. They even got their own op-ed in the Jerusalem Post. This was 2 days ago. Okay, the other very dangerous thing is what finally happened yesterday. The United States bombed Iran, but not with any old bomb. It is the mother of all bombs, the bomb of bombs, a 30,000-pound bomb. Here's what they used.
Is a GBU-57, known as a massive ordnance penetrator. At 20 feet long and weighing 30,000 pounds, it is the world's largest non-nuclear bomb and can destroy targets buried deep underground.
Tom Caraco, director of the Missile Defense Project, here explains to the Wall Street Journal how the bomb works. Watch this.
In terms of how far it can penetrate, and that's why you may have to follow it up with multiple instances. You drive a wedge in, it expands, and then you continue to drive it in the second time, and each time it's more effective. In a sense, you're trying to create an earthquake.
Essentially, what you want to do is cause an earthquake. You know, because Iran sits on some of the most seismic fault lines in the world. Earthquake. Just keep penetrating. 12 hours before they dropped this bomb, the US media was telling us all about how awesome it is. The Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, heck, even Scientific American got in on it. And of course, no one was more bomb-crazed than Fox News. Watch this.
So what you end up doing is, if you saw the movie, the latest Top Gun movie, eerily enough, this is that plot kind of coming to fruition in real life. It's not just one bomb, it'll be a bomb after a bomb to get through that penetration.
And just lastly, that's what you're talking about. Can penetrate up to 200 feet below the surface. And then, of course, we'll see it try and put the second one in there and go down.
So the U.S. dropped its load and Bibi lapped it up. Watch this.
President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength.
Big. Yeah. First you get the strength, then you get the peace.
Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman.
We all know how Scarface ends. Remember, they had never used this bomb anywhere. Iran was their testing ground, their Nagasaki 2.0. Now, the damage from the bomb is still being assessed, but Marco Rubio had to face the nation this morning. Watch this.
I think that question being asked on the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is
everything
the
they need
key
to build
point
a
in
weapon.
U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
the political decision had not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But
You don't
I'm
know-
asking
you
you
don't
whether
know
the
what you're
order
talking
was
about.
given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain?
No, I didn't. I know you are, but what am I? These are America's leaders. Murderous, mendacious Marco Rubio doesn't think it's important if there was an actual move to make a nuclear bomb. Irrelevant. Look, there are a lot of reasons why Israel launched Operation Limp Dick, or Rising Lion, and why America dropped its bomb. Test a weapon, divert attention from their genocide in Gaza, but mainly it's to cripple Iran and bring in regime change. But the best analysis, I think, that I've seen is from Amanda Grace She is from Ark of Grace Ministries. Watch this.
Hello everyone, Amanda Grace here from Ark of Grace Ministries. Breaking news. Israel has attacked Iran. Tehran has been bombed. Israel has launched Operation Rising Lion. In a month filled with pride, Operation Rising Lion goes forth. Let me tell you why this is prophetic. First of all, a group of lions is called a pride of lions. So in a month filled with pride in June is when Operation Rising Lion goes forth. Secondly, God, Almighty God, is known as the Lion of Judah. So in a month filled with pride, the lions have gone out.
We're fucked. Like, I mean, really fucked. Because it didn't take long for Americans to start calling for the rounding up and deportation of Iranians after they bombed Iran. This is Laura Loomer. She has 1.7 million followers on X. She is the darling of the right in America. Deport them all before they kill us all. Why are these people in our country? Have the Iranian proxies been activated? Here she is on that same X post saying the US has 2 million Iranian proxies in the country. That's the entire population of Iranians in the United States. Iran is under attack, and us Iranians also feel like we are under attack everywhere. Make no mistake about what is being brewed by the United States for their perceived enemies, both foreign and domestic. We will continue to cover the war of distraction on Iran, but before I sign off, I want to tell you about a very special Pride Month episode that we are working on.
Number two, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings.
I'm going to take you through some of my favorite messages that I've received from progressive Zionists who are worried for my safety if Israel ever allows foreign journalists into Gaza. I'm looking for that rooftop view. Till next time, stay tuned.